Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Reed, I'm an Aggie. I'm proud to be an Aggie today.
Whoop.
Gig 'em. I'm proud to be an Aggie today because it means I have a small association with someone as tough as you. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
And Ms. Christensen, Chief Christensen, I actually want to follow up on something that Ms. Reed alluded to. This committee, in a bipartisan way, we passed the Official Personnel File Enhancement Act back in 2016 that required agencies to make permanent notations in the personnel records of an employee who is the subject of a personnel investigation and resigns from that agency prior to the resolution of that personnel investigation. Has the Forest Service complied with this law for all 13 individuals who resigned prior to disciplinary action?
I cannot, with complete accuracy, answer your question about the 13. What I can tell you is that we are very appreciative of the work that Congress did. The Office of Personnel Management has recently put the rules in order, and we are all up for and completely going to comply with putting that in the records of folks that voluntarily retire.
So, Chief, you say you can't answer that question just because you're not aware of the information, or is that a question you can answer for this committee in writing after this hearing?
We can answer in writing. I just don't have the time frames of your particular
we would
question.
welcome that. That should be something that you should be able to pull fairly quickly. We
Absolutely.
would love to see that within the next week. Inspector General Fong, Region 5, I know that's California. There were almost half the employees there said that they expressed some level of mistrust in the Forest Service's sexual harassment and sexual misconduct complaint process. Can you give us some more details on that? Can you push?
Sorry about that. Yes, we're talking about the survey that we did in 2018, and we did receive feedback that many employees feared retaliation, and that many who reported that they had experienced harassment were afraid of reporting it because of the potential for retaliation.
And can you elaborate on the OIG's recommendations in your interim report on how to address this?
When we issued the survey to Forest Service, we did not make recommendations in that report. Now, we did an additional report that you're referencing about the investigative process, where we recommended to Forest Service that they use investigators who are independent, more independent, not Forest Service employees, in order to build and address potential perceptions.
So how does that address, and I guess this question is for you, Chief, how does that address the fact that almost half the employees in one sector believe that there's mistrust in these policies?
Yeah, I would put a time reference to that. The survey was done, and then the recommendations came out, and we immediately implemented the recommendations for third-party investigators to absolutely eliminate any of the concern of bias. So that was implemented in March.
So continue to investigate a problem that you know exists. How does that change the culture within Region 5?
That's one action, Congressman. To change a culture is multi-pronged. This is one action to show responsiveness, that we have transparency and confidence in the process. This alone is not going to change the culture.
Inspector General Fong, in my remaining 45 seconds, why does it take so long to go through one of these investigations and ultimately fire people that you find is actually conducting sexual harassment?
Well, as you know, we do many investigations. If there are allegations of criminal conduct, and we need to work through our investigative process, interview all the appropriate witnesses, look at documents, et cetera. The key piece of this is that we need to coordinate with prosecutors. It can be a Department of Justice prosecutor or a state and local prosecutor, and that partnership is key. The prosecutor is the one who determines the course of the investigation and whether or not they will ultimately bring an action, a lawsuit, a complaint, and file. And so that whole process can take more time than anybody would like.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back a time I do not have.
Gentleman from Texas yields back. The gentlelady from Michigan, Ms. Lawrence, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Christensen and Inspector Fogg, were any of the incidents shared in these media reports new